Waheguru Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ki Fateh. Today is December 7th. This is the 72nd anniversary of the vicious, unprovoked attack by the Japanese on Pearl Harbor. Now, for all of you who may not know about this in the history of the United States, this is very important. The United States was attacked by the Japanese, who were controlled at that time by a godless warrior faction in Japan who viciously and unprovoked put an unprovoked attack on the United States. Their goal was to completely smash the United States. But Americans stood up, and even though we were caught without our guard up at Pearl Harbor, later, of course, the Americans rallied, and under one God, we defeated these warrior-like Japanese rulers there in Japan. Now, I want to give tribute to my father, who was there at Pearl Harbor. He's serving on the USS Nevada at the time. Now, that day was a Sunday, and nobody expected this attack. It was, like I said, the Americans were caught with their guard down, basically. And the officers weren't even on the ship at the time, on the battleship there. So let me show you first. This is some pictures here. And you can see the USS Nevada. This was an old postcard that my father gave me. And then you can see him here on the extreme right. He was a private at the time and only 21 years old. In this picture here, this was later in Hawaii when he'd become a master sergeant at that time. So the way my father describes it to me about the attack was that, everybody was just caught with their guard down. And the general alarm was sounded, so everybody went to their battle stations. And he was assigned to a 5-inch gun, which is not really for shooting down planes. But with great courage, I have to say, is that my father and his comrades there came on top of the ship there with the planes strafing them with machine gun fire, and they got off a few rounds with this 5-inch gun. My father was a trainer, they call it, where it sights the gun. And so they got off a few shots, but realized that the shots were actually going into Honolulu, so they had to stop shooting. But they had machine guns on top that they were shooting at the Japanese. He describes it as just a complete melee there. The machine gun barrels were burned out quickly. The important thing that I want to point out is, though, that the Americans, the privates and the lower ranking soldiers there really did a great job of courageously putting themselves on the front line. In fact, what happened with the Nevada was that one of the sergeants got the ship underway because none of the officers were on the ship, and the Nevada was on the end of the battleship row. So one of the sergeants got the battleship underway so that they could try to get it out of the harbor so it wouldn't be in the direct line of fire. So it was hit by a Japanese torpedo as they were trying to exit the harbor, and then the sergeant who was commanding the ship at the time beached the ship. So that was a very smart thing to do. Now, the soldiers there, of course, were trying to take care of the wounded. My father describes how one of his buddies there was really badly burned. And so they were trying to help them and do that. And for a couple of days, it was really huge, like I said, like a melee. And everybody was trying to prepare for another attack because they just didn't know. Anyway, so after that, my father went to one of the invasions of the many islands there in the Pacific that the Japanese had control of. And I specifically remember a story he told me, which I always stays in my mind, about how when they were invading Saipan, which was a really bloody mess, there were several waves of Marines, which he was in the Marine Corps at the time, who landed and invaded this Saipan. And so I believe my father was on the second wave, but it was still really, really bad. It was machine gun fire constantly from these Japanese machine gun nests and bunkers. So he was bringing ammunition up to the front line, and he jumped into a foxhole with his captain there, and my father said, of course, he said, "Well, this is really, something else, and it's really bad here." This captain really wisely, I think, he said, "Bill," that's my father's name, is Bill Harris, and he said, "Bill, you'll always remember these times because of the tough times that you'll remember when you stood up and you were courageous." So that always stood out in my mind, that people, they always think that when it's easy and that when you have all of this material things and everything, that's a good time. But that's not true. When you stand up for truth, when you stand up and give your life and risk your life for the truth, those are the times that you'll really remember. So I hope in my life that I can live to that type of courage and that type of conviction for standing up for the truth and standing up for what is right, and not being afraid to give your life and to be on the unpopular side, if you will, okay? Because we all need to believe that God is with us only. And I think that's something that Americans have forgotten since this time of December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese attacked there. We all got together as Americans and defeated the Japanese, like I said, under one God, in this belief in family values and this belief in moral principles. Now, I'm not saying that we've completely forgotten that here in America, because I think there are many elements that are still very strong in their belief in God. But I do think that we need to get back to these moral standards and these belief in religion and belief in one God. So I hope that all Americans will view this time, as this December 7th, as a time to remember those basic principles that we stand for as Americans. Now, granted, we've all made mistakes, and America has made many mistakes. And I think that later in the war, when they dropped the atomic bomb, that was really the wrong thing to do. And we didn't need to do that. It was probably something that, looking back in American history, that we should have changed. But the basic thing with America is that we believe in one God, and that we move forward, and we try to do better, and we try to value these traditions of family and moral principles. Well, I've put this entire interview with my father, which I did a few months ago, onto YouTube, and I invite you all to watch that and to see his exact experiences and what he went through during that attack on Pearl Harbor, some other experiences that he had in life. Thank you for your time. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.